All right, so this is Wealth Mastery for Women, our monthly roundtable, and presented by myself, Adapia Dorico. I am a principal and vice president of strategy at Alpha Investing. We are a private real estate equity firm. So I invest in real estate and I help other people connect to private real estate opportunities. I am also a venture and angel investor and a partner in a Bitcoin hedge fund. So I love all things wealth building. And I have also been in finance or financial services to some degree since I was 18. So this is a topic very near and dear to my heart around my belief from a very young age that financial independence meant that I could be independent in all ways. And then also Jennifer. So I will let Jennifer introduce herself and then we'll kick off the topic.
Hi, everybody, and thank you so much for coming today. It's wonderful to see a turnout of women who are invested in taking care of their wealth and their money. We take so much time and care for so many other people with all our talent and all our spirit, and sometimes put ourselves last. And Adapia and I are definitely looking to help flip the switch on that. And part of that is empowerment and education. So I am a founder of Quantum Insurance Services, which is a commissions agnostic insurance consulting firm based out of Los Angeles. We founded in 2012. I had graduated from Princeton, gone into the financial industry and started in insurance, and immediately started seeing a bunch of things I thought were kind of wrong about how most of the advisors were doing what they were doing. They weren't acting with clients' best interests at heart. They were always upselling, and they were being lazy about how to solve for best value. So after developing a bit of mastery, I founded Quantum in 2012 with the purpose of helping demystify insurance products and always helping people get the best bang for their buck. We are thankful that we've won a lot of awards for what we do, and we work with all the top business management firms here in Los Angeles and New York and across the country. We have celebrity clients and friends and Fortune 500 companies and neighbors and everything in between. And that's really part of our commitment to always serving the client and the client's needs specifically, rather than having any kind of preordained vetting system for who we'll serve. We serve everybody the same, whether it's an extra zero or not on an equation. So Adapia and I have been wanting to get into this series of all the different topics that we need to cover as women to really start to have a 360-degree understanding of financial topics. And we've been doing this series for the last 3 months. Today, we're going to talk about my area of expertise specifically. So I'm really excited to share some of the tips and tricks that I know can help everybody here the most. And I encourage you to continue joining every month, because we have such a wonderful agenda coming up this year. Everything we talk about is really designed towards empowering you to get ahead and get a little farther with just little pieces of information that can help you. So let's see, with that, I guess we can get right into it.
Yeah, let's do that. So, all right. So first of all, once we get started, definitely want you to describe why strategic risk management is the third pillar of wealth. And we will actually look at that here. So just really quickly, some fundamental principles. Everyone is very familiar with stock market investing. Most likely, this is where most people have most of their investments. Even though there are a lot of statistics showing that still there's sub 50% of households in America that own any stocks, and on average, or rather the median is still only around $110,000. So definitely not enough to retire on. But there's some really important principles here. One is the investing side of it. So stocks, bonds, kind of traditional investments that most people know about. And then the other two, which really form the foundation, and we're going to talk about risk management today. The foundation is actually built on these non-correlated assets. Your investments in stock markets are only the tip of the iceberg, but you need a really, really strong foundation. And that is built on non-correlated assets. Non-correlated means not correlated, not connected to, not influenced by the stock market. So my area of expertise is more over here on real estate, commodities, alternatives, let's say. Then these are big non-correlated assets that form the foundation. In fact, the wealthiest people in the world, endowments, pension funds, etc., Yale being the most famous of them all, and most centimillionaires and billionaires have most of their wealth not in the stock market. They have it in real estate or their own businesses, and these non-correlated assets. But today we are going to be talking about this other corner of the foundation, which is risk management. So I will let Jennifer take it from here.
Excellent. And actually, Adipia, go back to the last slide. I want to show you guys something. So you'll notice your stock market funds are at the top. Adipia and I, you have to understand, we come from this idea that stability is everything and diversification is everything. And we'll learn, it's like everybody learns about their 401k and how to engage, and we learn to diversify between stocks and bonds, right? But there's such another level of diversification. If you've ever heard the phrase, don't put all your eggs in one basket, you really don't want to have all your eggs in the basket of the stock market, because it really fluctuates no matter whether you've got stocks and bonds. When it's up, it's great. When it's down, it's really down. It's 20, 30% down, and there's nothing you can do about that. We've all seen where people have lost 30% of their whole retirement right as they were coming to, turn 65. And the reason we have stock market at the top of this triangle is not because it's the top priority or the pole position, but it's actually the most vulnerable and unstable. Surprisingly, it really is. It fluctuates. Now, it has an awesome upside. So it's not saying don't do the market. The market's great. But you really want to try to create stability, just like think about a stool where if it has one leg, you can barely sit on it. If it has two, then you're going to topple. If you've got three, you're really stable. Well, so if you think of it as your big buckets, you've got things like real estate, gold, etc., right? You've got the stock market, and then you have risk management tools. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. That's my area. And there are other tools, annuities, life insurance, disability, they're all kind of in one bucket. So that's my specific kind of passion and interest. You can go to the next slide, Adipia. And, risk management is a fancy word or fancy sounding word, but what really is it? Well, it makes me think about my favorite quote, which is by Zig Ziglar, which says, expect the best, but prepare for the worst and definitely capitalize on whatever comes. I am one of those fatalistic people who I guess wants to always be sure the worst case scenario is covered so I don't have to panic, and then I can just concentrate on all the upside. And really, risk management helps with that. It just makes it so that if, God forbid, something you cannot control at all comes your way, and it can, and it does, one bad thing doesn't have to turn into 10 other really bad things. So, for example, I unexpectedly, when my kids were, 4 and 1, my husband got stage 3 cancer out of nowhere. And we eat organic and exercise and try to be healthy. And we really just figured we avoid phthalates. I really didn't think cancer was going to come my way, right? And I learned firsthand the power of having risk management in place, because how we were able to deal with that was say, okay, you know what? God forbid, worst case scenario, my kid's dad passes away. I've got $3 million of insurance on him. I'm not going to be broke. I'm not going to, all I have to do is concentrate on his getting better. That's all that matters, because I love my husband and the kids want their dad. And it actually strengthened me, because then I was able to concentrate. I could keep my business going. I could arrange care for him. And thank God, he's better now. And we say it's the best thing that ever happened to us. But it was firsthand for me an experience, which I never even expected, having been doing this now for over 16 years, seeing where protecting against the worst downside helps make you stronger and better able to function, so that you don't have to be acting in fear. You can be coming from a place of growth mindset. And in fact, it makes it possible for you to take better risks. So I highly encourage people to, when trying to figure out what do I need to kind of protect against, think about where the bottom could drop out on you, and where, if that happened, people would be affected. So if you have small children and right now you have a partner and you're raising them and you lost that partner, well, the bottom would drop out a little bit. So you might want to get some life insurance, and vice versa. Or if you have a business and you're in a relationship with a partner and you very intimately rely on each other growing this business, and God forbid something happened, those are places where the bottom could drop out. So start thinking about the places where you're vulnerable to the unforeseen. And that's where we start to zero in on what risk management you need to cover. So we can go to the next slide. For women, we have a lot of areas of concern, especially now that so many of us are working females. So we're not just caretakers, but some of us are entrepreneurs, business owners, key employees, and all the above. So, last month, one of the things we talked about was how to quantify your value. And it was really great because everybody realized they're worth millions of dollars just in what they produce in the world and in their families. Well, now I really do encourage you, while you're kind of listening to this, take a minute and quantify your contribution to household income. Okay. And you want to multiply it for like the next 20, 30 years if you have kids or a mortgage. Because once the kids are, grown, hopefully they can fend for themselves. But if they're little and they're dependent or they haven't gone to college yet, there's a set need that you can kind of predict. Same with a mortgage. And then also your time and talent as a co-parent or a business partner or key employee. What do you produce with your talent and your time that's special, that someone else would have to be hired to do? If it's a caretaker, for example, and you have two people working in a house and that surviving spouse loses the co-parent, that spouse is either going to lose time at work and then, lose income, or going to have to hire somebody and pay them $50K a year to help raise children so they can continue to perform. So even non-working women are very valuable when you have risks like a nest that you're kind of growing kids in and they're not out of the nest yet. And then for women, the other one I really encourage people to be cognizant of is personal long-term care. Women live longer than men. And when we get older, we last longer too. So we can, slow down, but keep ticking well into our 90s. And that gets expensive. In fact, the average cost for personal long-term care will be $1.3 million per person in 30 years. So, there are ways of protecting yourself and creating some protection for that outside of just trying to somehow create $2 million in retirement income, because that's not as easy to do for most people. And if you time things correctly and you access good insurance products, you can be building in a long-term care policy for yourself, which is really important for women. So the point is, if you haven't covered these areas for yourself yet, you really better get cracking, because you're at your youngest and your healthiest today. And the thing with insurance products is they're not like any other financial tool where anyone can enter at any time. There's actual underwriting that ties into whether you're insurable, and that can change at any minute. And it also gets more expensive every year you get older. So, really once you're in your prime working years, you realize you have a risk, the sooner you cover it, the cheaper it is for you actually. And then the less of your money has to go towards risk management, the more of it can go towards growth. So,
yeah, and Jennifer, I'll just chime in with a quick kind of personal story on this front, as you know, because I do my life insurance with Jennifer. Is last year, so I'm trying to think, 2021. I waited a little bit too long for the whole life insurance conversation with my husband, et cetera. And I ended up getting a really severe flare of my autoimmune disease, which is Crohn's. And I had been fine for like 25 years. I was going around telling people, oh, I don't have it anymore, and et cetera, et cetera. And then I got absolutely just so sick. It was really, really, really bad. And even though I recovered also very quickly, unfortunately for the insurance company, even though Crohn's doesn't really have necessarily a risk to life, certainly not at my age and certainly not in how quickly I recovered, my premiums were very different than if I had done it just a year before when I was basically perfectly healthy. And so that's just like, it's not just a scary one, but it just, I was like, damn, like if I had just done this like a year earlier and I had other things going on, right? And this is always the thing. Oh, I'll do this later. I'll do this later. I'll do this later. And you just really never know. And I wouldn't have necessarily expected that my Crohn's flare would have affected life insurance. I could see it affecting maybe some like other, something else, deductibles on health, but instead it actually really affected the life insurance. So that's just, my own experience from having waited, because you really never know, even if you think like I did, that I was invincible and really healthy. Unfortunately, that is a situation that happened.
It's true. We see it all the time. And so often, like once a week, a client will say to me, I wish I had done this 5 years ago, which, I hate. But that's part of the reason I try to really promulgate awareness and information, because The barrier to entry being money, probably, and getting around to it, right? With insurance products, the more you can remove those two, the better situated people are for their financial success and their wellness for their whole life long. It really pays a dividend. And so the goal is to just see people, more and more people getting set up for just really good things instead of, like those secret things that are whammies in your future that you don't even know, or letting them not be inconveniences, because everybody really feels healthy. That's the part of it, right? And everybody actually is alive and not dead. But when it comes to underwriting, it's like, they're looking for any kind of reason to do something other than give someone super preferred rates. So you just don't want to give ammunition. And so time's not your friend when it comes to that. Yeah, we can go to the next slide. Oh yeah. Also remember, flip the switch, not just who depends on you, but who do you depend on? Okay. So if you have a life partner, a co-parent, losing them could impact your home mortgage for sure, any other properties, childcare, pet care duties, and costs associated. Because it's like, when you even have like one pet, and then it's just like you handling it versus, your partner helping handle part of it, it cuts into your productivity at work. So just imagine that, and then think through all the ways in which having that spouse reduces your time strain, your ability to perform at work and continue growing salary. That's a huge one. If you have kids, and you were to become a single parent, that's something to really think about. And then sometimes, you're getting your good health insurance through your spouse, and you might lose that. And that's really significant these days. And also other retirement assets, like maybe a pension, if they're a city worker. Now, some of that you might get, but then there are other benefits that you might lose. So be thinking about that as you calculate the value of that partner, and then ensure that for yourself if you can. Similarly with business, it's super important. One thing people don't think about, if you're in a close partnership in a business, and let's say that person, God forbid, passes away, you are immediately in business with that person's heir, whoever that is. That could be their wife. That could be their 19-year-old child. That's your new business partner, folks. And that's not who you want to do business with. I guarantee you're happy with the business partner you chose. And this other person either is going to know nothing about it or think they know everything about it. Either way, you don't want to be in business with that person. So that's called key person insurance. You need to protect so that the minute, God forbid, one partner's gone, the business has an immediate liquid infusion of cash to buy out that heir's portion of the company, so the company can continue in your hands as it should, right? And there's a quick claim and things aren't messy. So that's really important when you're in closely held partnerships. Also, you have to think about, sometimes in closely held partnerships, you might have key relationships where one of the partners had, let's say, all the business managers and the other one had all the celebrities or whatever it is. And without them, business could take a little bit of a hit. There won't be as much continuity. Their ability to peak perform at work, or yours while you've lost that person and you're a man or a woman down. Complementary skill sets. Maybe that person handled all the CFO stuff and you hate that. So you're going to have to immediately hire an interim CFO because that wasn't your skill set. And then also succession plans and business continuity. So those are all areas to think about in businesses. And that's all under the category of key person insurances. Again, if you don't have these covered, get cracking while those people are healthy. And that way it won't cost you anywhere near as much. Okay, we can go to the next slide. This is so important. I want everyone to know this. Not all insurance products are created equal. So part of the reason I think in some situations, I'll feel like life insurance might have a bad name in certain people's minds. And certainly that's because not all insurance advisors are created equal, just like not all products are created equal, just like in anything, not all professionals are created equal. I always laugh about the joke that says, what do you call the very last, the student who was last in their class at medical school? What do you call them? You call them doctor. Like they're still a doctor. Like they were last in their class. They barely made it and you're a doctor, right? So think about that. Same with investment advisors, same with anything in real estate. Like, the skill set of that person is going to impact at times the quality of the result, the quality of the experience, the quality of the actual products and the care they're taking. So then on top of that, just besides knowing you have a good person in this sector for your needs, it's also important people know that not all insurance products are created equal. So variable life insurance, which is becoming less and less popular because finally more and more people are sort of understanding it's really not the best kind of product out there, but it used to be huge, is something to completely stay away from. I'll tell you right now, I've seen a lot of things happen with variable products when the market has gone down. And my belief is your risk management product should really not be subject to market exposure. That's just, to me, that's just the dumbest thing you can do. So if anyone ever tries to sell you variable universal, I would just run the other direction personally, and I'm happy to elaborate on why. A lot of whole life gets sold, especially by, if you work with a Mass Mutual, a Northwestern Mutual, or a New York Life, those are the three major captive companies, and they do a great job with branding, and their salespeople are very kind of taught to be kind of aggressive. But the thing is, whole life is the most expensive insurance product you can buy. And much more importantly than that, it's not what it used to be. So whole life used to deliver dividends inside the product, and they would be like 8%, and that was pretty good. But if you look back now over the last 21 years, they've consistently gone down, and they're now at like 4.2%, and they're going down further, and they will continue to go down further. So they are not what they used to be. So you might hear sometimes from family advice that could be outdated by over 20 years. And I really encourage you to get access to really good advice and information that's current, because I've heard things like buy term and invest the rest. Well, maybe in 2001 or 1999, maybe that would have been decent advice, not now. And or buy whole life, I would almost never use whole life in any circumstance, because you could get a better result for cheaper using other products. So term life is very good. It's really cheap. You'd be shocked sometimes how much money, how much protection you can get for how little money you can get with term life insurance if you're healthy, and it has a place. And then universal life is actually a pretty great product. There's guaranteed universal life, there's index universal life, and some of them have long-term care riders built in. They're fantastic when used and designed correctly. So just know, stay away if you can from variable. And if someone's selling you whole life, you could probably do better if you have an access to someone who's maybe more sophisticated or has your best interest at heart. Okay, we can go to the next slide. This goes into how do you make sure you have someone who's more sophisticated or has your best interest at heart. There are brokers and there are agents. An agent is tied to one company. Even if they say they can show you other products, they actually really can't. And or it's a set of products that are designed to make their own company's products look really competitive, versus a broker is not tied to any one company and can work with any company that has insurance products in the entire country or the world. And why does that matter? Well, an agent is going to show you sort of a cookie cutter and very limited set of products, and they may not even be the most competitive in the market at all. They're often going to pump you into whole life because they're really trained to just go for those higher commission products. Even if something is better out there for you, they often won't even know it because they're not taught about those products. This results in overspending, and then you're kind of like burdened with this policy that maybe you won't even keep in place, and maybe over time you'd even cancel, which is like the worst thing you can do with an insurance product. Versus if you work with a broker, the broker can be scouring the market every day and every quarter and every year to learn what exactly is the best value today for a particular client's needs. They also can leverage different carriers against each other to get better health ratings, because you're not tied to just one underwriter's thoughts. So at Quantum, for example, we will pre-screen a client, learn whatever they have in their health history, because everybody has something. And then we talk to underwriting liaisons and we find out, okay, who could give this person with asthma super preferred health because they barely use their inhaler and whatever, versus another carrier might give them standard health. And that can save them tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of the policy. And that's before you even go to market. So you can leverage, or similarly, if you get approved and it's maybe a health rating you didn't think was fair, let's say you got preferred instead of super preferred, and we really think that's ridiculous, then you can take that offer and say, wait, who wants this business? Stupid Banner Life gave this perfectly healthy woman preferred health because she's 5 pounds underweight. Who wants to give her super preferred, shave $1,000 off the premium? The business is yours. And that kind of thing really makes a difference. That means you're binding your best possible price. You might even be able to improve your rate over time if you have a condition that will eventually resolve. You can go back for rate reconsiderations. And that broker is really at that point consulting. They're leveraging this entire market industry knowledge for your benefit, not selling something. And that should result, that kind of process should produce a policy that is irreplaceable. That if you got another person to look at it in the light of day, there's no way they could do better for you. They couldn't do better on the rate. They couldn't show you a better way to put your dollar to use. That should be the outcome. And that's virtually never going to be the outcome if you're working with an agent. Okay, I'm off my pedestal about that. I'm very passionate about that. Let's see, next slide. Okay, so one of the things, and this is just, this is a very top level kind of discussion about insurance. So we're not getting too deep into anything. But one thing to learn about is cash value life insurance. The reason it has a place in a financial picture for many people is it can grow money inside the policy without you being subjected to capital gains. And that's a nice thing because you're going to have some assets that you're definitely going to have to pay capital gains on, and that's okay. But it's also nice to have some where you don't have to. The policies often can also be built to have living benefits, like we talked about, long-term care built right in, which means it can be covering multiple bases without having to have like 6 different policies. It will have guarantees, okay, meaning minimum interest rates they promise they'll give you, and then even upside potential, which is a really nice way to, again, do that meta level diversification where you have growth opportunities, but it's not just on the stock market. And especially with the right kind of insurance product, which we really like to use policies that have guarantees, it's non-correlated again, which means even if the stock market's down 30%, the interest in this cash value life insurance policy isn't going to go down. And that's really important because depending on when you need money, you definitely don't want it where all your assets are all down 30% right when you turn 65 or right when your kid's going to college or right when you want to try to pay for a wedding or whatever. And then also one tip is if you're going to do cash value life insurance, ask your broker or agent, if you're using an agent, to set it up with an increasing death benefit. And the reason that's good is you can set it up so the cash value grows faster if the death benefit's lower to start, and the death benefit will still grow over time. And the reason for that is the higher the death benefit, the higher the cost of the insurance. So if you can have a lower death benefit to begin, and it's all really designed in a really attuned way to your needs, you can maximize the value of that strategy for your cash growth. So again, this is just like a primer. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions on anything that we've talked about. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can email service@teamqis.com or just go to our website or anything, or please feel free to reach out if anything I've said here is went too fast or you want to learn more. Okay, thanks, Adipia. You can go to the next slide. All right, so just the last thing to remember, insurance is a really interesting financial tool, and it's very different from anything else that's in the financial world because the death benefits are always tax-free and they deliver money in a lump sum immediately. It just infuses liquid exactly when you need it in the amount that you already predicted. And the other thing that's weird about it is you can only get it if you're healthy. It's not like you can just buy it off the shelf. You really have to go through, you have to qualify to get it. And that's different from anyone can do their 401k. Anyone can buy a stock. You just need the money. So they're a little unique in that way. And because of this, timing is everything. So you do want to, if you're looking at all this and realizing that you have a risk and you haven't done it yet, just try not to procrastinate. It's not your friend. Okay, so I think the last thing, this is a cornerstone of your stability. Okay, so again, with all the flipping of the switch we're trying to help women do, remember it's natural to put yourself last. It's natural to be an autopilot and let time go by. But try to flip the switch if you can and make it a top priority as opposed to an afterthought, because that actually will save you a lot more money and set you up so much better 30 years from now if you don't let it be the afterthought, and then you can't buy back time. And then the whole purpose of what we're doing here is tied into what Adapia and I are really passionately doing in conjunction with LeadHERship Global. We are creating an organization, or have created an organization, called Women of Wealth. And the purpose of it is to create sort of a mastermind for women who really want to drill down in more brass tacks on financial questions and subjects and topics. The whole purpose of it is so that we get information and access to these things that have historically perhaps intimidated women even more than men. They intimidate everyone, but women somehow think maybe they can't know or shouldn't know or whatever. And none of that is true. And so just taking the barriers down and getting us all this information at our fingertips, so we have complete and total choice, complete and total access, is our mission with Women of Wealth, personally anyway, as professionals, and also with Women of Wealth. Adapia came up with this quote, and I love it so much, that it's time for us to all shift out of working for our money and moving into our money works for us, which, again, as service-oriented people, most women are very service-oriented. It's always, how can I perform, instead of how can that perform and set me up? So we can go to the next slide.
Awesome. All right. Yeah. And so, as we mentioned in the beginning, there is this massive transfer of wealth that's already taking place. And with WOW and with LeadHERship Global now and C-Suite, we're going to be doing these discussions every month. And there's a different topic every month. Next month, we're going to be talking about diversification, what that actually means to diversify. It does not mean an ETF or an index fund. So this should be a really, really good one. And this is a little bit of our credo for Women of Wealth, and really all women. This is what we want for all women. We are brilliant diamonds of pure potential, operating at the intersection of wealth consciousness and wealth building. We are a dynamic, impactful, inclusive group that's dedicated to empowering all women through grassroots access to brass tacks financial advice, mentorship, connectivity, and practical guidance on creating personal abundance at every level. We empower and hold each other accountable to the financial independence, power, and impact that we're here to make in this world. We leave nothing on the table. We are wealthy in mind, body, soul, relationships, health, and our financial accounts. Wealth is an inside out job, and we take that approach at WOW.